I had very little close in combat. And one of my moments of close combat was we were at our 37 millimeter on the street, guarding the street there, and we had we had trouble with the Japanese behind us because we moved so fast down through the city that they got stranded behind us, and we had to look at our rear and to our front. So I was a driver, so my job was mostly to keep an eye on the back while the rest of the people were on the guns. And I heard something around the gun there, and I looked. I went over to take a look, and I saw this tall Japanese. I guess must have been a Royal Marine. He was standing there. He's trying to sneak by our gun position, and then I encountered him, and he had a what they call a Nambu gun. It's automatic, full automatic, and semi-automatic assault rifle. And he brought that off of his shoulder and pointed at me, and I had beat him with my carbine. I was faster than he was with the carbine, and I shot him there, and he run to the front and trying to continue his way through our position to get back to their lines, and he stumbled and fell into the bushes in front of and by the gun, and then he just lay there. And at that time there were two more Japanese in the buildings, little outbuildings in the back. They started throwing hand grenades. None of them had any rifles or pistols, evidently, and they started throwing hand grenades at us. But to our good luck, the range they were falling short. They couldn't reach all the way to us. But a friend of mine came over from a rifle squad, and we decided he and I would go out and we would, we call it recon by fire. We go shooting into those buildings and see if we can get any movement. We were pretty sure they didn't have any rifles with them. They only had a hand grenade, so we could hear them moving around. We could direct a fire at them. So we were doing that. We were shooting our rifles, and I had a carbine, and he had the rifle, and we were shooting in there. And when he was shooting, he fired his last round in his M1 rifle, and when you fire your last round, the clip comes out and makes a big zing like that. And they heard that, or they saw it. The Japanese saw that, and the officer, I learned later, was a captain in the Navy. He was a captain in the Navy by rank. And he came out, the Japanese captain came out with a saber, and he was about to run my friend in with it while he was trying to unload, trying to reload. But I killed him with my carbine. I emptied my carbine into him, and he fell there. He didn't get to cause any damage to my friend. And then it's about just a moment or two later, they heard a big bang inside, and the other, I assumed to be an officer, he blew himself up with a carbine, with a grenade, and either was trying to throw it or commit suicide. And they usually, a lot of the Japanese would keep a grenade for them to kill themselves other than being captured. And so we had three Japanese. One two had been shot, and one had blown himself up with a grenade. So I came back. I got the captain's insignia off of his blouse and his dog tag, so I thought the intelligence might need it. And I showed my squad leader. I said, "We just killed a 3-star general." He said, "That's not a 3-star general. Those 3 stars are for Navy captain." So, well, at least we stopped all the grenade throwing, and we continued our mission as guarding the road that we were supposed to, and we were finished with that action there, and we just lay down and try to get some sleep. And it's hard for you to imagine anybody that just killed 2 people laying down and going to sleep. What you do, lay down on the street. You got a blanket. The only thing you got is a blanket to sleep on the street. And you got a blanket, huddle up in your blanket and go to sleep. And then my squad leader, Lewis, I hear some moaning out there. The Jap you killed is still alive. Really? He said, "Somebody's got to do something." Well, I said, "Nobody's going to approach that Jap until the morning. If he's still alive, I'll approach him from a different position. He's still clutching a Mbu rifle. And I'm not going to go near him. I'm not going to allow anybody to go near him until daybreak. If it's after daybreak, I'll see if he's still alive. We can see if we can get some attention for him, some medical attention. But nobody will come out here and treat him at night. And even if they did, I wouldn't let them get there. Well, somebody's going to have to take care of him." I said, "Well," I went out and, like finishing off a animal in pain, you go out and finish off a enemy Japanese soldier who is in severe pain. And let's see things that happened in war. I approached him from the rear, and not too close to where I would have been observed by him and be able to receive. Sometimes the enemy will lay there and groan, and when you go to rescue him or treat him, they'll shoot you. They'll have the weapon ready to shoot. Even though they're wounded, they still have that ability to shoot you. And so I finished him off in a safe position where I wouldn't be exposed to him shooting me. I was about I'd say 10 or 15 yards there, and it was dark. It was dark at night. I knew where he fell, and I could hear the moans. And I fired several rounds into it. We start shooting sometime. We just finish up the clip. I don't know how many was left in there, in the magazine. But then I went back and finished my nap. Soldier I shot there, he was the lead he was the head of the other 2 Japanese, I think were both officers. I know one was a captain, and I think the other one was an officer too. He was actually sort of a bodyguard. He was a tall guy, and I assumed he was a Royal Marine as a bodyguard for the 2 officers. And he was the first one shot. And when he was shot, the other 2 officers, they started throwing hand grenades at our position, and were falling short.
How close did that Navy captain come with the saber to your spread?
He was, I would say he was in about 4 or 5 paces. If you take 4 or 5 paces, he had had his bayonet into it. And I don't know, I can't remember if the soldier had a bayonet on there or not. If he did, he'd had to go to bayonet fighting, but if he was, he could have done he could possibly have done a lateral with that rifle and knocked the sword out of his hands. I don't know, but what he would have had to fought him hand to hand. He would have had to fought him hand to hand with the rifle.
How far away were you from that Navy captain?
I was a little further than him. He was, I'd say, 5 yards for him. I was probably about 10 yards from so about double the distance from him. I aimed at center of mass. We always aim center of mass. You point it and you just hope. The soldier with the Mammoo gun was about, I'd say about 4 or 5 paces, about 5 to 10 paces. I don't know if it's 5 to 10 paces, but about 5 to 10 paces away from me.
Did you see the Japanese officer?
Yeah, I
who,
saw
who with the grenade?
No, the one that blew himself up. No, he was in a shed-like thing with open storage thing with open windows, like an open window there, and I could see inside there, but all I did saw a big explosion, and I looked in later and saw this body with it blown apart. And looked in there later, and right after I shot the captain. I looked in there and I just saw a body there had been blown apart there, and blood and guts.